We're here. You don't have a drink.
I know. Fuck, man.
So what if halfway through the podcast you pass out because you don't have a drink?
Yeah, then workers' comp.
Nope. I'm going to sell this. I'm going to sell you some water.
Oh. Don't drink it all.
I'm going to spit it across into your mouth and you're going to come back to life like
Baby bird.
Like Narcan, but water.
All right.
Well, we're
off
doing
to a hot start.
Well, we have a podcast room. We've taken, so that to give context, we're actually like in my sewing room, which is where I sew. We work on samples.
It's also your closet.
Yeah, it's where I get dressed for the TikTok videos.
Yeah.
It's this is a pretty big production room, so I'm happy that we have the podcast here, and this is the first episode of the
Project Progress presented by Flegner Fail.
No, we don't need to present.
Project Podcast. Project Progress. Holy shit. Podcast. Did I get
the
it?
3 Ps. Project Progress.
Yeah.
That's hard to say.
I know. Is Progress Project easier?
Progress
over everything?
Let's just, when it comes out, we'll have a name for it.
Yeah. Read the title.
Because that was too hard to say. It seems really good, but then you start to say it and you trip all over yourself.
In theory, it was good until I tried to announce it with my lisp.
So the objection, the task at hand,
Objective,
the mission,
yeah.
The objective is we're going to launch a Flegner Fail podcast.
Finally.
And it's going to be everything that the brand has going on. It's going to be project development. It's going to be insights into behind the brand. I think that what we're really going to try to do is connect with the customers that actually care.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of business information, oddly enough, because although it just seems like we make beautiful apparel, there is so much that goes into it. It's not what it used to be.
No.
Where we used to just print t-shirts. We got deep into cut and sew. The items we're making are a lot more expensive now, and there's a lot of budgeting. There's a giant staff. The world's got very, very complicated, but at the core of it is still making the best apparel that we can possibly make.
Yeah.
So we're going to cover a lot of that, and then we're also going to cover logistics of it all, and then everything that we're doing, because we're recording this podcast right before New Year's.
Yeah. And
one of the things that we always do is take like a big close out of the year. And there's been so much that's happened this year. You know, it's absolutely insane. And I lose track of it. And I think this is going to be a great way to like document our journey, especially because we're at such a pivotal time right now where we have so much momentum. Our staff is phenomenal. Like you're back, which is crazy. Austin has returned from his 2-year hiatus.
Vacation.
He took a little vacation. He went down to the Virgin Islands.
I wish.
And just drank daiquiris.
I wish.
And should we cover what you did?
If you want.
I mean, I think the people want, right? Because the people know you. And
people have been wanting it for a while now. I just haven't been giving it.
All right, give it to them. Give them like a little brief overview with what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I left and I came back.
Okay.
I mean, I don't
so you're
know.
not comfortable with anything.
I mean, it depends on what level of detail we want to go into.
Let's start with introducing Austin. People generally know me, or you don't know me. Fuck, I should introduce myself.
Yeah.
Hi, I am Rob Bailey. I am a designer, entrepreneur. I've dreamed of being a fashion designer my whole life, oddly enough. We should hang that photo up. I have that in the other room.
This sewing thing?
Yeah, so my parents both worked, and to keep me busy, my mom introduced me to sewing because I would just draw on everything. Like I would just, you did the same thing. Just whatever you could customize, whatever you could draw, I would draw. And that's what kept me occupied. That and playing outside.
Yep.
And my mom at some point in time in the winters were like, I don't know what to do with this kid. So she taught me how to cross stitch. And there was a cross stitching, like the Home Sweet Home one that everyone has. And I always wanted to do that. And then at like a very young age, dare I say like 4 or 5, she taught me how to do it. And I was like, whoa, I'm just drawing with thread.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize like different mediums and everything like that, but it taught me a different medium, and it made me realize how to sew. And that did a thing for a while. And then coming into probably 7th grade is where I really started to notice, because that was middle school, I really started to notice that I didn't have cool clothes. Like like my shoes were Spalding. Spalding shoes.
You were bouncing around.
Well, yes, Spalding shoes. And my mom used to paint them, like repaint them white with whatever, poor kid stuff growing up, right?
Yeah.
And then as I entered school, I really wanted to express myself. I was really into punk rock and hardcore, and I couldn't afford Jinkos or anything like this. I started sewing and making my own clothes. And I realized that one, that got me attention from girls, which was rad. Two, I was able to express myself. And then I was able to have like cool custom clothes that I made. So sewing career started, fashion started, fast forward, I started printing t-shirts and stuff like that to sort of just play with what that felt like. And then I ended up starting this brand, Flag Nor Fail, in 2009 after some other failed brands and things like that. And just decided to bet on myself. Started this brand, printing in a garage with $400. We can cover the backstory later when it's relevant. But yeah, the brand started. And then after a few years of me designing everything on my own and really just living in a warehouse and just living the life that I wanted, but also realizing I couldn't keep up with the workload, Austin Ragno entered the scene.
So this is where I introduced myself?
That's where you introduced yourself.
2014, I joined the brand. Came in just behind the scenes, almost like design support for you. We worked in the same office for many of the beginning years, which I think was like the expedited, put the turbocharger on getting me up to speed and who I eventually became today. So getting to work hand in hand with you is something that when I took my vacation over the last 2 years, I kind of missed just like that collaborative effort behind building something. And the big thing is like, we can all, right now we live in a world where everybody, it's exciting to want to be the entrepreneur, want to be the business owner, want to be all these things, but there's also power in going somewhere together. And like, I can go really far. I'm extremely confident in that, but like the distance that a group of people can go together is why I'm here and what I'm excited about. So, right now, creative director, marketing director, everything you want to call it. But right now, just back kind of manning the team and making sure that the vision you have in your head and that we all do is execute it properly and present it to people the way it needs to be. So I'm excited to be back.
We're not good with titles.
No. My titles also changed like 3 times.
Yeah, you know what I've also realized about, because I think this is such like a really cool special world here, and we'll go over like how our world's changed, but it's such a unique, because it's led by me.
Yeah.
Right. And I've been pretty smart with my finances and my investments and everything outside of the brand. And I'm always willing to take a risk or take a chance based on like, hey, is this going to be cool?
Yeah.
So traditional business decisions, I don't make them. I make like, for example, this year, one of the major things that happened this year that I forgot about actually, because it's snowy now, is we put a racetrack in.
Yeah.
And I remember having the conversation like with my accountant and everyone, and they were like, all right, you're doing what? And I was like, we're putting in a racetrack, and it's a quarter mile. It's a autocross / drift track. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense that you own an apparel line. Your headquarters is in Montana, which is arguably one of the worst places to put a headquarters of a company, for staffing reasons, for shipping reasons, for everything. Right. It has its beauty, but it's also logistically for business, really bad idea. And then on top of that, you're putting in a racetrack, like that doesn't make sense. And that's sort of how everything works, right? It's like, but I have this vision and I don't have anyone to answer to. I don't have investors. I don't have debt. I don't have any of those things. So if I want to put on a racetrack, as long as I get my brother on board and my wife, we're putting in a racetrack.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a little insight into how this company works and why everything functions the way it is it's not always based on sound business decisions or, something that makes sense to like the suits.
Yeah.
It has to make sense to me. And as long as I can convince the team to get behind me, we do it.
Yeah.
And I think that your journey is interesting because, we grew together, and it's weird, and I don't want to insult you, but it is a little bit like father and son.
No, I'd agree.
And I think that, you have a kid now.
I know.
I don't have any kids, but you're my
Yeah, I'm back and
you're like my kid.
I'm a dad.
I know, it's crazy. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Austin's daughter is incredible. She's super, super rad. I'm very impressed.
I'll say it on the podcast so everyone can say it. She broke the hand downstairs, but
She broke the hand?
yeah.
So when
I've been stressed about it.
So
for
when
weeks.
I put the ball back up there, it fell.
I've talked to numerous people about like trying to fix it behind your back, and I was like, I just got to confront them, and this felt like the right time.
Because I went to put the ball back up and it fell, and I was like, someone broke this, and I was like, oh, there's a bunch of kids in here the other day.
It was funny though, because Noemi and Banks were over there playing with it, and Drew and I were like standing next to them talking, and out of nowhere we heard it hit the floor, and we looked over and we were like, who did it? And Banks was like, Noemi did it, and I was like, God damn.
Rat. No, Drew's kids rat on each other.
Yeah.
But I don't have any kids, and I feel like I was raised in business through different business owners, right? Like I was raised by my parents who gave me all these skills, right?
Yep.
Whether it was good or bad, they gave me traits.
It shaped you.
And then I went into business and working. And when I say I went into business, I went to work for other people. And I think that's what people don't realize is you're in business all the time. Your business might just be washing dishes, but you have an opportunity to sort of get close to the owner and learn. Mm-hmm. And I did that with every single job. I was always just, dare I say I was that kid you could take advantage of, which I think is one of the greatest things. I just always want to do more. So I got taken advantage of a lot by staying extra hours, doing things that quote unquote weren't my job, but it taught me like everything.
Yeah.
So by the time I started my own business, I had an understanding of when I started Flag of how to do things, you know, and how to be scrappy and how to be creative and how to just make it work. Because I'd seen so many other men before me make it work. And then when you came in, I think this was like not your first job, but it was like your first big job.
Yeah.
And you went all in. I mean, we had mattresses.
Yeah, everything you just said about you is like what I was up until still.
Yeah. So it's you know, we had mattresses on the floor. I have photos of you sleeping in the office, like going on tour together, doing all this stuff and sort of learning it with me being, dare I say, a father figure. And I think that something that happens with father figures or fathers
leader or whatever
is at some point in time, normally when you're like 13 or 14, I did the same thing with my dad, which was like, we just didn't see as eye to eye.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, just like with my dad, we took a little break, you know, we took a break from, I'd say 14 years old until I think I didn't see him for a few years. And then I think I saw him again when I was like 19.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like there was
I don't think I noticed.
Yeah, there was 2 years where I didn't, if my dad was there, I didn't go. If I was there, my dad didn't go. So we just didn't see each other. And then coming back and like both growing and then being like, this is how we function together. And I think that your departure, was 100% needed because I needed to learn how to grow as a leader because I, once again, didn't look at you as an employee, looked at you as like a son.
Yeah.
I mean, as weird as that is.
I told many people like when I left here, they were like, what's obviously like, what do you miss? And this and that. I was like, I feel like I lost my two brothers. Like I have two biological real brothers, but Drew and I you and I worked in the same office for a couple years. Yeah. Drew and I have worked in the same office when we moved to Montana since we moved to Montana. Yeah. So it was any decision or any part of my life or anything, like we were just, the three of us, it was us. Yeah. I mean, obviously there was the staff and all that, but like outside of that, it was here and life and everything just kind of meshed together. So,
and the other thing in building this business is there's not really a separation between life and business, right? Because when I started Flag Nor Fail, my main objective was like, I want to work with my people. Yeah. And my people at the time were like, I had a couple friends and then I had my brother and my wife. And it always felt weird going to work 9 to 5 and then being like, I'll see you when I get home. And then we go to the gym. And then like, it just felt like you have these separate lives and you spent all this time with these people that like, I didn't like any of the people I worked with. And I would try to like them because I'm like, I spend 8 hours here, but they were just like, you show up every day and you don't like them. And I wanted to create a business where not only did it facilitate everything I wanted to do in life, but it also facilitated like working with the people I care about. Yeah. So the relationship was always just different, right? And I think that expectations were never set on either side for anyone. It was always just like, yeah, we're all just working as hard as we can.
Yeah, and the company was growing, and we were just grabbing a piece of it and riding along together and figuring it out as we went.
I mean, including me turning around one day saying, hey, we're moving everything to Montana, and people just being like, all right. Like, how that's so fucking crazy that there's people that have lived their whole life somewhere. And I understand for me, because I'm a lunatic and I make wild decisions, but like, to tell people, hey, we're going to relocate the business to Montana, and people they don't even know what Montana is. Like, there was no shows about Montana or anything like this. When we moved to Montana,
2017, to give people context.
Yeah, when we moved there, it was like nobody knew about it. Mm-hmm. And I had people follow me here that had never been here, and it was really, really rad. So the relationship was much different than a Boston employee, right? Yeah. And I never looked at you as an employee. But I think that like father-son break was needed for 2 years. You go out in the real world, be like, cool, I can structure everything like this. I was forced to hire a bunch of freelancers, navigate with other people that didn't have necessarily like the same standard as me. Yeah. And be like, whoa. Like, and I think that when you left, in my head, what I wanted to do was I wanted to scale the company and build out teams and grow, because that felt like the next stage. And I think in that next 2 years, as I tried to do that and realized that the original goal of the company was to create the coolest company I could possibly imagine. And in scaling it, I felt like we lost a lot of that, because you start to get positions that they start to feel like those corporate positions again, that's the life I ran away from. Yeah. And, you know, if I want to put on a racetrack, all of a sudden I hear people being like, I can't believe we're putting in a racetrack. That's stupid. And it's like, wait, you guys aren't on board with like this crazy life? Yeah. Like, you guys can use the racetrack. I don't understand. So I sort of took 2 years of that, which has got us here. And we've talked about this before, which is like, we feel momentum for the first time in a long time. And one of the reasons we feel momentum is because we're not like looking to hire anymore. Mm-hmm. It's like, I want people that really want to grow. They don't want to just show up and check boxes. Like, no, everyone's getting better. Everyone's figuring out how to navigate the brand, how to be more valuable. And I feel like that's exactly what we have right now. Yeah. And again, there's no one I walk in here and I see and I'm like, ugh, you know, it's we have such a really cool team. And the brand is also, you know, transitioned so much.
Yeah, we're kind of going through, I mean, we haven't really coined it like this. I mentioned it the other day, but we're kind of rebranding.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of rebranding. We've had a couple logo variations. Yeah. You know, we started with the big, bold Flagner fail with the script in between, which got us through a lot. Yeah. But, you know, had issues, wasn't scalable, wasn't like a mark, but it made people ask questions. And I think it was perfect for the time. We transitioned to the athletic F, which I think was like the step that we needed to get where we are.
I'd agree.
And I think it was like the right shape. We learned how to play with it. It really made us realize that we were evolving from a streetwear company to building technology in our apparel. Mm-hmm. And then we finally landed on the monogram. Yeah. And I think if we would have went to the monogram any sooner, it would have been the right time. And I think that right now it's like such a proud mark that definitely brings like the black and white streetwear aspect. It also gives a nod to like old sports teams. Like, it does all of those little magic things in one logo. And then the apparel we put it on brings all of that influence to what we're trying to do. Yeah. And to give context of what we're trying to do, we started out as hand printing apparel in a garage. We then started to go to a little bit of cut and sew, but more athletic. And the progression, the arc of it all, getting us to Montana.
I mean, we were ahead of our time with many of the items we were releasing back in PA.
Because even seeing like the Ben bag up there, and we're revisiting now a lot of products that we made back in the day that didn't make sense. So like one for example, like we made hiking hammocks. Yeah. And I remember we did our video in the gym, which makes zero sense, but we wanted to test the weight. And I think we got like 660 pounds in it.
It was crazy.
And we wanted to test the weight, but it was like, we're a gym company selling hammocks, and it worked, but like nothing ever grabbed. Yeah. And the big thing I spent all last year developing was the overalls. Yeah. And you know, they were just delayed. I was teaching or teasing to them on Instagram and showing people the process and everything. And it was such a big risk because the normal cost of an item is palatable. It's like, okay, this item costs this much, and the overalls cost close to 3 times, and the margin's so small, and so the price point had to be huge, and they're tailored overalls. Like, what a weird thing to sell. And that was our big risk the beginning of last year that we took, which was, let's release these overalls and see if people like them. And I like them. I wear them every single day. And we released them and they hit and they did really well. And we haven't been able to keep them in stock since. And that has given us the permission with the brand to like sort of lean into all the things we used to do. We came out with a hiking bag, and we were a gym company, and we came out with a hiking bag with a water bladder, and people bought it. And we came out with, but we couldn't tie it all together.
Yeah. Well, and at the time it was transitioning. Our audience was very much gym. Dana was competing, you were making music, but predominantly for the gym at the time. We were a gym company. So it was cool. We're making a hiking bag. We're going to try to teach these people that they need to get outside. Yeah. Or we need to start getting people more involved in where we want to go with the brand, which was tough in the beginning.
And that's what we always did, but we couldn't figure out the angle with the brand. So, I mean, like our adventure tours were centered around hikes, and you would get bodybuilders and weird muscle people showing up and being like, wait, we're going to hike up this mountain? Be like, yeah, that's why you're here. Like, you're at Mount Washington. We're going to hike it. And they were like, well, so what's that like? And so it was always our foundation. But we could just never figure out how to transition into the brand. It's hard, man. Cut and sew is hard, and developing products is hard. And I'm so proud now of how we do it that, like, I buy so much apparel now. You see boxes show up every day because when I see a brand that I like, I start buying them, and it's giving me so much confidence in our brand because we are so much better. Like, it's my ego and my confidence in our brand right now is so big. And it's mostly because like 6 months ago, I just started buying everything. Yeah. And brands that I've looked at forever as like the gold standard of fly fishing or the gold standard of mountaineering or whatever, I've been buying their stuff. And I was like, dude, we are so much better.
In the 2 years I wasn't here, I had to buy clothes for the first time in fucking 9 years, and buying clothes from other companies that I won't say I was excited to buy their clothes, but I was excited to like see the experience. I want to go through the email flows. I want to go on the website. I want to open the package. I want to do the whole thing. Very disappointing. Yeah. And it's like, wait, I just paid what for these shorts? Like, we wouldn't even have approved this as a first round sample, let alone a final product that someone's paying over $100.
So when I saw you leave, I watched you for a little bit, then I unfollowed you.
Sick.
But,
I went pretty quiet.
Yeah, but for a little bit, when you started uploading, like I noticed like you were wearing other brands' shorts and this, that, and the other, and I was like, man, I wonder what that's like. Like I remember thinking that because we
like buying what like
just being like, all right, what? Because I think when you buy from a brand, you have to be like, do I identify with this brand? Yep. Like, do I identify with what they stand for? And some people don't care about that, right? They just care about social equity and clout, and like it's what other people are wearing, and you know, not to throw shade at any of the other brands out there, but a little bit. And you can like buy into a hype train and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I wonder what that's like having to choose a brand you identify with, what that brand stands for, and then taking the risk on like what their quality is going to look like and all of that. And that's sort of what made me, watching you, is what made me start buying other clothes. Because for so long, I'm like, no, I only wear what I make. Yeah. And that's what has, I think, also given me this momentum, as I'm so disappointed in all other lines. Not all lines, but like 98% of the stuff I buy is garbage.
The 3 companies that I ordered from, 2 in our industry, 1 outside of our industry, I placed first order and that was it. After I got the product and I got the package and I tried it on, or I looked at it, I was like, okay. The one, I immediately cut the sleeves off it and the collar and was like, maybe this can work as a gym shirt. Like, I don't know. And then the other 2 companies I just stopped ordering from.
Yeah. I mean, the samples that I buy, the first thing I do is I try them on and I'm like, why does this fit so poorly? Yeah. And then I come in here and I modify them.
Yeah.
And I end up sewing and tailoring the shirt so that it actually fits. And then I decide if I like it. But by that time, it's not even their shirt anymore.
Yeah.
So we have a really cool thing going. And I think that one of the things that we've done in the past is we've documented heavy with daily vlogging.
Yeah.
And our strategy is changing with video now, which is we're putting out really, really high-end video. And I think with documenting with really, really high-end video, we're kind of missing a little bit of the playful behind the scenes, like seeing us develop things and try on samples. And that's sort of also the point of this podcast is every week I want to sort of document the process of like, talking about, I guess, the Oscar pants, because that's V1 right there, right? So like a project we're working on is the Oscar pants, and they're inspired by the overalls. They're going to carry a lot of the same features over, but it's more of like a traditional work pant. And, like nobody knows about that sample right there. I wore that sample all this year. We've made changes to the waistband. I've made changes to everything, but we're on round 3 now, and like no one knows about it. And I think that looking back now, it's like, I wish when we were developing the Joy bag, for example, our hiking bag, I wish we had something to go listen to like hear how our brains were working. And we have vlog, but like, it's so messy.
Our vlogs
it's so messy and all over the place. Right. And we might have even missed product development. Yeah. So that's really what I want to dig into here. And then I also want to like make sure that we cover big events, because if you ask me what we did this year, I forgot we built a racetrack.
Yeah. You want to go over top 2024 moments?
Oh my goodness, I can try.
I mean, I feel like you've kind of...
Racetrack's one of them.
Yeah. HQ in general, right?
Yeah, the HQ, man, the headquarters that we're sitting in, I guess it's like anything, right? Like, my whole life I've pictured this building. Since I was 6 years old, I pictured this almost exact building. And then when we started, it was when the pandemic hit and everything sort of got screwed up, and the building process took longer. And all of a sudden, like, my dream became a headache. And then we were forced to like work in so many different offices, and it wasn't the right team to do that. Right? Like, if I said right now, like, hey, the building is infested with mold and we need to work out of my house, it would be sick.
Everyone,
like having this.
We've talked about similar.
Having this team at my house right now would be so sick.
Yeah.
So us like hopping around from warehouse to warehouse and like place to place, it wasn't cool with that team. Yeah. Like, that team was used to big corporate offices and stuff like that, and they weren't young and scrappy like us. So it didn't feel right. And that put like a weird taste in my mouth. So the building process, that coming in here, and then all the issues with the building that we had to fix. By the time I originally got in the building, I like resented the building. I was like, man, this was supposed to be my magical thing and this is with everything, right?
Yeah.
With it at 6 years old, I pictured this, and I finally got to a point in time where we can build this building in Montana, and everything just felt like it was wrong. And the fight being hit from, designing and production and advertising, and then business, and then legal, and then all these different things in combination with the stress of the warehouse was making me like, I thought this was supposed to be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the main principles we're working into the brand next year is, Jordan said it the other day. So Jordan's a photographer, and it like fucked me up. I don't know if you heard him say it. But it was, we had a shoot planned or something, and it was raining and foggy. And I was like, fuck, man, it's raining. And he's like, oh my God, it's beautiful. The fog takes such good photos. And if you guys know Jordan, that's who Jordan is. He thinks everything's amazing. Like, he's the nicest kid ever. And he said that, and I was like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, the fog looks so good. Like, it puts this mist over the trees, and like the rain sounds so beautiful. And I was like, damn, I've been looking at rain wrong the whole time. Mm-hmm. And I think that on the come up, because we've been doing this for so long, 14 years now? 14, 15 years, something. On the come up, like, everything was beautiful. It was like, man, this warehouse is so shitty, but so beautiful with the old brick, and like, it's cold, but that makes us badasses and all this stuff. And I think at some point in time, I felt like I was owed like I'd put the work in and I was like, I was owed a nice building and I was owed a staff that like believed in the brand and all these different things. And I sort of felt like I had made it and things that owed me. And I think that I got really mixed up with the journey at that point in time, where when things would go wrong with the journey, I would be mad at them. And I'd be like, well, no, this shouldn't be happening. Like, we're established. And I think partially with you leaving, partially with like me fixing my mindset, now it's like I appreciate all those things.
Yeah.
And when something goes wrong, it's like, no, that like this is an excuse to use my heavy equipment now. Like, oh, my truck's stuck? Hell yeah, let me go get the side-by-side and tow it out. Or if something goes wrong with production and everyone's like, oh no, what's going to go happen? It's like, no, this is our opportunity to use our creativity to find like a solution.
Yeah.
And I've started looking at everything like that, in addition to trying to lead the team like that. And I feel like that's part of the reason why we have such like rad momentum. It's like everything is coming together right now.
Yeah.
Which all just goes back to mindset. So going back to like what we're trying to, I think, really lean into this year is making sure that people are, one, creating a life that they like, and we want to make the apparel that supports them creating the life that they want.
Yeah. Whether
it's inspirational, whether it's they don't think about it because the clothes are so good that that never stops them, or make sure that like as they're creating that life, you're like enjoying the process of creating the life.
Yeah.
And I think looking back at the building, it's like, man, I wish I would have went back and like reframed my mindset and enjoyed the build process. Knew that it was going to take a year and a half longer and that shit was going to be crazy. Cause I think that like my mentality would have influenced the staff.
Yeah.
And I like tried to hold strong with it all, but it sort of just slowly beat me down until we got where we got.
Yeah. Mindset and perspective is obviously huge, right? Like
for everything.
Making the move back here, I accepted the position and moved my family here in 30 days. So everything that could went wrong, as chaotic as that could be, everything that every day I felt like I was getting my dick kicked in. One day we talked on the phone. I don't know if you remember saying it. You probably do.
I was remember exactly what
kind of venting to you.
I think I know exactly what you're going to say.
I was like venting a little bit and you were like, nobody cares. And I was like, I was like, but then I was like, damn, he's right. So like everyone is going through their own shit. And like, if I'm going to sit here and be sad right now, it's not affecting the other billion people. It's only affecting me. So why not just like be happy right now, enjoy the chaos, and just get through it?
I like that that had a good effect on you. Yeah. So I've had that in the back of my head since I said it.
Yeah.
Something I've been trying to do more recently, and I've learned it from friends, is being like radically honest.
And you didn't say it as like saying you didn't care. I was venting in a sense of like,
I was sort of saying that I didn't care too.
But in the context of it, I didn't take it as like, damn, Rob just fucking played me.
Yeah.
I took it as like,
perfect.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah. So for context, a little bit there, and I think that people need to realize this, right? It helps you sort of live life. I was going through tons of shit at that moment. Like I could have sat there and we could have vented to each other for 3 days straight until our phones died. And you were like, hey man, I need to figure this out. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, dude, my problems are so much bigger than his problems. And like, I don't know if he wants what he wants from me or whatever, but I mean, it's the same thing about like, what time did you get here this morning?
Yeah.
Like you can pride yourself on you were here at 3:45 all day, and I can pride myself that I'm going to be here until 9 o'clock tonight. But like what it comes down to is nobody cares. Like it doesn't fucking matter. If you're in financial, like people around you care a little bit, right? Especially if they're involved.
Yeah.
But like everyone has shit going on, and all relative to them, and it's the biggest shit ever.
Yeah. Like to you, that was, you had bigger shit than me.
It doesn't matter.
But relative to each other, we both had the biggest shit of our lives possibly ever happening all at once.
Exactly. And I think that it's fun to pretend like people care and stuff like that. But I think I've seen enough really big things happen to friends and realize that like, wait, so no one else is calling you right now, or no one else is showing up while you're in prison? Like it's just me. To realize that like, the average person they just move on because everyone has their own shit. And it's your duty as the person who's in control of your life to like realize that like, oh, this is my shit. I need to handle it.
To show up and get it taken care of. And that's what like,
good.
Anything,
I'm glad that worked.
No,
that's how I intended it to go.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if it went that way or if you had like a little chip on your shoulder.
I was more so venting that like, not you, but like no one else knows what's going on behind the scenes.
No,
like I was venting to you and you were like, it was more so like nobody cares as in like there's other people involved that
there's also a ladder to it all, right?
Yeah.
And I even when I said that, I was aware that like I'm just higher up on the ladder. It doesn't mean that my problems are bigger. It's just that I've created bigger things. And I think that people that take really aggressive action in life and you need to realize this, if you truly try to take your life and elevate it and make it something that's grand, your problems are going to get a lot bigger.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot bigger. If you want to keep it small, then yes, your problems are going to they're going to be small, but for someone like me or you, I look at a small life's problems and I'm like, dude, I can fix that in a second. And then there's people above me and above you that they look at my problems and they're like,
dude, shut the fuck up.
They're like, hire more assistants. And I'm like, hire more assistants? I'm in Montana. And they're like, bro, there's such easy solutions to all this. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting mindset, but that's something, once again, in that 2 years of leadership where you weren't here and I was forced to deal with more people. I realized that like the faster I'm radically honest with people, the better it's going to pay off. Because if you figure out how to like coddle people and sort of weave around, next thing you know, you're like a year in and you're like, I can't even tell this person that something's wrong because we've built up this weird emotional relationship where like if I correct them or criticize their work, they have a full mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And that's not the people I want here. I want the people here where, I mean, Gage is a great example. Gage has been here almost a year.
Yeah.
And like for the first 6 months, every video he showed me, I was like, this video sucks. And he was like, oh. And I was like, I'm going to tell you why, and we're going to make it better, but this video sucks. And like, I wasn't doing that to be mean. I was also doing that to temper him and make sure that like he was the right one here.
The right fit for the
because my standard's high.
Yeah.
We have built this world and we have the ability to curate our standard, and our standard's high. Our standard's high for apparel. It's high for execution. It's high for speed. It's high for talent. It's high for growth. It's high for progress. It's high for all those things. And if you're not going to work towards the same standard or be interested in working, then we don't want you here.
Yeah.
We can run this place with 2 people, like 2 badass people, but 2 people, you know? And if I can add more than 2 people, hell yeah. But yeah, that's the mentality you have to have here.
Yeah. I'm excited to be back here. I know that the team, everything like feels right. And like you said, the momentum that we have right now is pretty huge.
All right. So let's make an effort to recap 2024.
Okay.
We keep dodging it and going off on tangents, which is what a podcast is. But all right, 2024. Let's start with, we released the overalls. I released the overalls. You weren't even here.
I was working remote. We just didn't tell anybody.
You were on a vacation. Yeah, you worked remote for like a month, 2 months.
November to May of last year.
So I don't count remote employees.
Okay. I didn't work.
They don't actually exist. Because you try to find them through email and they're like, you know, you were probably just changing your kids' diapers and who knows what you're doing.
Exactly.
Remote employees don't work. I hate that trend. But we released overalls and tested overalls the year before, released overalls. They hit really, really well. What else happened this year? We built a racetrack.
The racetrack, the HQ updates.
Racetrack we built.
The dirt pit, the fucking ramp. I mean, there's a
dirt pit. We changed the sign.
Yeah.
Holy moly. Yeah, we changed the sign. That was a big commitment to a big expensive commitment, pulling down the athletic F and really cementing the monogram. We put in a pit bike track.
Pit bike
track.
What did I call it? A dirt pit?
You called it a dirt pit?
It's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny. You called it a dirt pit the other day, and I just didn't know what you're talking about.
You should have told me.
No, I was like, dirt pit.
Pit bike track. Pit bike dirt track. Right? Kind of?
You can just call it a pit bike track.
Pit bike track.
Yeah, so put in a pit bike track. We have Kyle Saxton here, who's a professional snowmobiler who decided he wanted to get into motocross. We're naming all like weird things. What else did we do?
I mean, that's it, like warehouse update wise.
Yeah. I mean, new gym equipment.
I think just progress in general has been
the apparel stepped up, right? We sort of changed our we changed our model for influencers per se.
Yeah.
Where the model was, I think, what everyone else does. And it's to have quote unquote influencers all over, and they just randomly post your stuff and they're like, use my promo code and stuff like that. And I think one of the models we changed this year is we realized that Montana is the dopest state ever, right? And I think it's everyone's dream state to come to. Unfortunately, no one's ever like, oh, I can't wait to go to Pennsylvania, or I don't want to shit on any other states.
I'm sure people do, but it's different here.
No one ever says, I want to go to Pennsylvania.
I just don't want to offend people. But you're offending them, so go ahead.
I grew up in Pennsylvania. It was great for what it was, and I never noticed anyone ever saying, I want to come there. You know, which is no big deal. It's a great state, just nobody ever wanted to come there to visit me. But Montana, everyone, the second you say, you know, we live in Montana, we own a business in Montana, whatever, everyone's like, oh my God, I want to go there. Or it's like the greatest trip of my life was there. So how we changed up that model is we started bringing people out. So instead of the influencers sending them clothes and saying, wear this and do your promo code like every other brand in the world, we bring people out and we're like, guess what? We're going to cram all of Montana in 4 days. And we just document that. And I think that is also really feeding everything. Like it's feeding the brand, it's feeding the apparel. We're seeing how people wear it, what they do in it, because we know what we do. Yeah. But seeing how the average person processes that.
That's what one of the things we talked about the other day was traditionally like the old us would say, cool, we're dropping overalls. All right, we need a spring look of these. We need to send the team to Arizona to go shoot it and do this. And it's like, we have everything we need right here, and we need to lean into this being our location, our home base, because it is so beautiful and powerful that if presented properly, you can show that to other people and inspire them that way.
Yeah, and we see it every day.
Yeah, we kind of, I mean, you start to take it for granted. Like, holy shit, them clouds are so close. I'm like, stop it, clouds, fuck.
Yeah. I notice the sunrise over the Columbia Mountains every single morning, and I'm like, man, unbelievable. But then I don't notice it the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And when I get on Zoom calls with people and they can see out my window, they're like, oh my God, where do you live? I'm like, what? Oh yeah, that's my window. Like, it blows people's minds. But our apparel, I think that's also helped our apparel, right? Which is, if we can make a jean jacket, like a Sherpa line jean jacket, and we can bring Anton from Florida, and then we can put him in the jean jacket with a core long sleeve under it, and then take him to a buffalo ranch. Like, part of it is like, is he cold? Because he's a Floridian, right?
Yeah.
I love Floridian.
That's great.
So, but he's a Floridian. So it's like, well, if he's warm in that jacket,
it works.
Then like, okay. Because of course we're going to be warm in the jacket because we live here. Yeah. Like, I don't get cold till it's negative 25. And then I'm like, oh, I should stop wearing flip-flops. But like, to bring him in, see him on, you know, acting as a model and all that, but then actually putting him through the steps of like what we actually do here. It's a really cool proving ground that makes sure that not only is it designed and tested here, but we can bring other people here, put them through our paces, and it performs well.
Yeah.
What else? Dude, Dana rode a bull this year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody knows, but Dana was Miss Olympia. She's 41 years old, which is that like a middle-aged woman? It's weird calling Dana a middle-aged woman because she's such like a youthful maniac. Like, it seems like it is crazy. It seems like she's 18, but she's a 41-year-old woman. Growing up, I thought 41 was like, you're dead, right? Sure. Like your life's over, just ride it out. And then 50, you're in a nursing home.
Rot and die. That's the saying, right?
Rot and die. Jeez. And then, you know, I see her doing things like that and like getting on a bull. And like, for a second I was like, hey, like, you're a professional bodybuilder and like, that's what your business is. Like, the bull could hurt you and end your body. And she just like doesn't care.
Yeah. She sent it.
And she's like, no, I want to ride a bull. And then she rode another bull. Yeah. And it's like, it's really cool. Again, how does that make sense for our brand? But it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's taking your life by the horns.
Wow.
I did that. Sorry about that. I got to make dad jokes every once in a while, right?
I mean, I made the Spalding one earlier, so I guess you were due for one.
I missed it. I thought about the whole rest, and I was like, what did he mean about bouncing around?
They make basketballs.
They make, I think, all sporting equipment.
They do, yeah. Yeah. I think they tried getting into golf for a little.
I don't think they've done much.
Yeah.
They're not doing too well. What else? What else this year?
I mean, what are you trying to cover exactly?
I don't know. I was trying to recap 2024, but I think we didn't have this wonderful podcast to truly document, so it all just seems like a blur.
You're right.
And that's the big thing that I'm doing. So by the time you see this, I'm now daily vlogging again.
I wondered if you were going to say that this episode.
I'm daily vlogging. This is actually me making it really real, but I'm going to daily vlog 365 days next year, every single day. Do I have time for that in my workload? No. I will be filming and editing them all. So I'm just adding another 2 hours of workload to my plate every single day.
No big deal.
But I think that's one of the things this year is time's getting so fast and we rip by so fast. And I watched a video. What really cemented it was like a week or two ago is I saw a video pop and it was like 8 years ago.
Of you?
Of me. And it was me daily vlogging the day before my brother's daughter was born.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched it and she was born that night. So a little after midnight. So it was, I got to see my old house. I got to see us hiring a new employee, Ki. Love Ki. Again, business decision. My friend got laid off. He's like, hey, I really need a job making this much money. I was like, come work for me. He's like, what should I do there? I was like, I don't know. We'll just figure it out. And we tried for 6 months to figure it out.
I don't even remember what his role was.
He didn't have a role.
Yeah.
That was
I think he was kind of like managing social.
Something like that.
But it was the early stages of social and stuff.
But Ki was starting. You and I were going to build a laptop. We were like, you were designing Warehouse gym hoodies. And like, I forgot that we owned a public gym.
Yeah.
But all that documentation of all that really cool stuff we've done, I realized that I wish I had that all documented for last year. And I'm also realizing, looking back at that young kid, looking back at Rob Bailey at 20 years old, 17, 18 years old, where like, I really wanted to start an apparel line, but I didn't have anyone to learn from. I thought business owners were these magical people that had money.
Yeah.
And it took me so long to realize like all these scrappy little things and all these different things I can learn. So I think that's going to be the primary focus is one, documenting my life so I can remember what the hell I've done.
Yeah.
But then two is like pulling lessons out every single day and getting them out to people from a real person that's doing it, not a guy that is teaching courses and whatever because he's a professional fucking life coach. Someone who's like in the trenches every day with their life on fire,
doing it.
Upside down, negative $300,000 this month. Okay, we need to figure out next month, and realizing that like, no, this is what life is, right?
Yeah.
And going back to the next year, really trying to show people, hey, enjoy the journey, create the life that you want, everything that the brand stands for. And I just want to do that in live time. And then 8 years from now, be able to go back and be like, damn, I was a lunatic, right?
Vlogging's a sick platform if you do it properly.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through a little period where I was vlogging right before I came back here. I was doing like a journey, and then it kind of stopped because I came back here. But the big thing that it helped me with was I did it because I wanted to be grateful for what I had around me. Yeah. I was just every day feeling like I was getting my ass kicked, and then I shot my first vlog, and I was like, I don't know if anyone's going to see this, but I want to be creative. Shot it in like my basement in my house and like just documented my day. And when I went to edit it at night, I was like, what am I bitching about?
Yeah.
My life is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And then it just became what it was. And I'm excited to see where you go because 365 days is long.
It's a lot. But
I know throughout there it's going to change and it's going to evolve. And I'm excited to just see what it turns into.
The other thing, I really haven't been storytelling or doing video recently, and I'm getting rusty.
Yeah.
And right now I'm designing roughly 3 hours a day, which seems crazy. But I'm designing about 3 hours a day, and I'm like, compared to where I was 4 months ago, like I'm so much better right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, I forgot that you build up these skill sets, but you have to practice them. And I go to the gym every day and I do all these things every day, but like, I don't take photos every day. Yeah. A lot of the discipline of what I do, I don't sew every day. There's a bunch of things I don't do every single day, but the two main things I've been doing is strategizing and leading, which I think getting very good at. I feel like I am. I mean, it's working. So, and then designing. Yeah. I'm doing those two things every single day. And I'm like, damn, if I added creative storytelling and documenting and video every single day, like by the end of next year, like I'm going to be a force, an absolute force.
It's crazy how you can get rusty doing. Like I forget what it was, but one of my my first or second week back, I was trying to design a t-shirt or something. I apologized to you. I was like, sorry, I haven't had to design something good in a while.
Yeah.
And I just felt like I was working in circles.
Yeah. Once again, that's the beauty of this job is you can wear so many different hats and do so many different things. And it's really a designer, creative led business.
Yeah.
And it always will be,
yeah.
right? Like it's never not going to be. It's always just going to get more creative. And I think that goes back to why our products are so good. Yes, we ship just as fast as everybody else. Yes, our customer service is great. Our margins are there, all that stuff. But like we destroy people on creativity. We destroy people on media production. All those creative things, like we are the absolute best.
And I feel like we haven't even really started yet.
And that's what I was going to finish with is we haven't even fucking started. Yeah. So same thing. I'm like so excited for this year. I'm so excited for this podcast. I'm so excited to document it. And yeah, one episode a week. Is that what we want to do?
I don't see why not.
All right. One episode a week. I think we recap the week. We recap the projects. We talk about pitfalls we're running into. We talk about big, exciting things. Brainstorm about products. We'll recap releases and how we could have done things better, but it's going to be a lot of knowledge. It's going to be a lot of behind the scenes, a lot of business development strictly for the apparel.
Yeah.
And then maybe some reminiscing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe we'll do some reminiscing. Like if it, to think that there's 14 years of mistakes and business and things we've learned from, especially because we're starting to make a lot of products we used to make.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of like little flashbacks.
Yeah. It's going to be really fun.
All right. So, guys, there's going to be a link in the bio. And the link in the bio is going to have links to anything that we talked about here that's relevant. So if we ever talk about any videos, if we ever talk about anything that makes sense, right? So like maybe we should put the racetrack vlog, building on the racetrack videos. And so the link is going to take you there and give you all of the information, anything that we've talked about in context. In the future, we'll put some little things in there for you. And then we would love if you can share the show. Yeah. If you can comment. I think that's another thing that I want to start doing is, and that's the thing I love about daily vlogging, right? Like I upload a video halfway through the day, I read all the comments and then I tailor my next video for the comments.
Yeah.
And that's why daily vlogging to me, because it's like, it's so real. It's like,
real time.
This is yesterday, this is today. And they're on that journey with you. And that's sort of what we want to do here is we want to get you guys on this journey with us. So comment where you can comment. We will read them and then we'll work them in the future episodes. Maybe we'll even read some of your comments on air.
That'd be fun.
On air. Is that what this is?
I guess technically not because we're live, but in theory.
What's the outro?
I don't know. Do you have one?
No, I don't have one. I was hoping.
No, I didn't really plan that out ahead of time.
For a creative director, you're not very creative.
What's this episode called? The Progress Project?
Episode 1.
It's going to progress as we go.
All right, episode 1. Shout out to our sponsors, ourselves.
Flegnерfell.com.
Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.